Hello, hello, hello. You are here. This is Wall Street Underground's Radio Free Wall Street, 5 o'clock every day New York time. I love it. Thank you for joining me. And oh, my God, we got a great story to tell you. Oh, my God, the Oracle of Omaha. I think his Ouija board broke. You see, there's a lot of, he says that you can find out who's swimming naked when they drain the pool. Well, you can find out who's been shitting on the water when the turd floats up. And one of the big things about Berkshire Hathaway is they do a lot of creative accounting. They do not report to standard GAAP, generally accepted accounting practices. They do the Montefiore engineering, I'm smarter than the market thing. And what I've always resented about Buffett is that they do not mark their shareholdings to market. I mean, it's pretty goddamn simple. What was the price of the share of stock? That's the value of the company. And they don't do that. New accounting rules are putting them in a position where they got to do that, and Warren Buffett's really pissed off. He doesn't like it, and you know the reason why? Well, pretty simple. The miracle of the Oracle Omaha ain't so much of a miracle. And under the, he calls it wild swings in accounting. It's not wild swings. We're in a bear market. And he's got a $170 billion stock portfolio was said to easily fluctuate by $10 billion or more in a quarter. What's happened is that's the business he's in, and he's basically a share of stock holding company. Okay, and we've entered a bear market. Now, the last time he started booking losses like this was when? Well, 10 years ago in the last stock market bear market. He says there was a $6 billion mark-to-market input on Berkshire's stock portfolio in the first quarter. And that's because the market has started a long bear market. He increased his buying of shares of Apple Computer at the highs. And at one time he said he wouldn't buy companies he didn't understand it. Well, now that he understands Apple Computer, he's buying at the very top when Huawei and many Samsung are coming in the market with better phones, better cameras, better transmitters, better processors, and a much better price point. And so our analysis is that, and that's why we've got that FANG trade we love, is that the market is in deep trouble on smartphones. The competition is coming. And Apple, by the way, Apple's competitors are spending 4 times the amount of money developing the next smartphone technology they are. A little thing they forgot to tell you. And so they got lost along the way. But this is an example of what's going on. And he's reporting billions of dollars in losses. And these are real losses. In other words, this is not make-believe. And the reason why is that they would normally not mark to market, so they would mark to Mars, sometimes Pluto, and sometimes to the moon. And that's okay. But we've now entered a bear market. The stock market will crash. Buffett has doubled down on his bets. With a lot of companies in the building industry, a lot of train shipping companies. For example, his railroad operations saw an increase in profit only because during that time was when we had the drop in oil prices. Now the oil prices and diesel fuel prices are climbing again. Their losses are mounting. It really, the huge factor in that business is what does it cost in the fuel to run those great big mama diesel engines? And, the guy's, almost 90 years old? And he's basically in Geico. And now we're seeing a turn in the automobile cycle. That hurts them. He's got electric utilities, heavy manufacturers, and manufacturing is down. Retailers are starting to wipe out. And basically he's in the insurance business. And remember, he still has not tabulated what their insurance losses from last hurricane season. Those numbers are being stalled, which I resent the shit out of. And as people are waiting for a check in the settlement, they'll find out that they got the chump change, but they didn't get the big settlement check. And they're basically using a lot of tricks to try to stop from doing that. So the problem is that these accounting losses are trying to force companies to report to more responsible earnings. And there's a reason why they're doing it now. Trust me, the big boys know that a recession's coming. They know what an inverted yield curve means. They understand what happens when the Fed tightens. So it's not a mystery. Now, obviously, they're not going to tell Mom and Pa Hogan what's going on. I mean, what do you do? Well, remember, the market is a risk-transferring mechanism. I want to look at it a different way. The market transfers risk from the smart to the stupid. And that's why the retail investors are always the biggest losses. That's why the retail investors are the ones who are going to get their clock cleaned in the junk bonds that are getting to be junk and going to wipe out city. So Buffett reflects a growing trend of, should we say, earnings that are not as stable as they were, a stock market that is not really valued correctly any longer, basically, if you analyze Berkshire's portfolio, it's a bull market portfolio. It counts on increased retail sales. It accounts increased housing demand. It accounts for more retail sales. It accounts for more shipping. And so he positioned himself greatly in the great retail boom we recently have. The problem is that now he's posting losses because the world is changing, okay? And, by the way, he's in Wells Fargo Company. Well, you know they're going broke. They are the biggest retail lender in the world. They have huge undisclosed losses in their housing and mortgage origination portfolio. They have huge losses, which they're admitting to and mounting in the credit card debt. They have huge losses that are rolling forward. I mean, what are you going to finance a car for, 10 years? I mean, what is it going to be worth at that end of that stream? What about halfway through? So they basically have a huge portfolio of automobile loans where the underlying cars are worth less than loans at the time that defaults are starting to rise. Okay? So Wells Fargo, and to their shame, this is supposed to be the great protector of the consumer and lover of Americans, and he allows the biggest con job retail banking screw over to continue. He didn't even demand a board of directors change. Coca-Cola, I mean, fizzy drinks, you know, that's, they've had, first quarter they fell 13.6%, 5.3%. I mean, these are not smart investments, and they're not an example of a switched-on management, okay? And I think he's going to very much get caught in a recession. He does not see a recession coming. So I guess it gets into a situation. By the way, a lot of the profits is the fact that they got a lot of cash on the balance sheet that they can put in. By the way, if they would put money in 10-year treasuries, their whole portfolio would out-earn itself by a factor of 2, okay? So with net earnings tailing the 10 years at a 1%, 1.5%, you know, it gets pretty ugly. So it's a time, by the way, I thought it was a great story to tell you about, because at a time that people are hawking the great economy, that's just not the case. At a time that people are talking about the return of corporate profitability, that's not the case. At the time they're talking about huge investments in the economy, not happening. At a time we were told that people would have a great deal of money because with the job market getting so tight, the pay would increase. We're seeing pay not increasing. We're seeing people drop out of the market. We are seeing the work week fall. We are seeing employees leave the workplace because they can't make it anymore. And we're seeing the lowest level, lowest skilled people coming into the workplace. Look, the job creation, 10 million jobs, has been 9,900,000 of the lowest level, lowest pay, lowest trained, lowest paid jobs possible. Okay, and then these are the last hired and the first fired. Now, what's going to happen to jobs in the hotel category, in the service category, in the food category? Well, in every recession, those categories drop dramatically. People do not eat out. Okay, corporate travel, individual travel plunges. These are the retail sales go down, so that means retail clerks are gone. And the problem is that businesses are not preparing for that. You buy into this big lie, and I've seen this a lot in this business. And all your years of hard work disappear in one fell swoop when the recession comes. People all of a sudden wake up and there's no money. People wake up one day and all their economic projections get thrown out the window. Ford Motor Company is basically cutting production on 4 major sedans manufactured in the United States, and it is moving its production to facilities in Mexico, India, and China for the world market. So that means that what's happening to manufacturers are They cannot profitably produce a car in America. They can't produce a truck properly in America. So what's happening is, because of the pressure with Donald Trump, they're going to a model where they're going to produce a whole lot of vehicles in Mexico and China and India, and those will go into the world market. And then they'll produce the high-price, high-labor vehicle in the U.S. plant for the U.S. market and play a game of sneaking as much of the components and as many manufactured pickup trucks out of Mexico into the United States and try to play the game that way. The reality is that the world has changed, okay? You need to understand, and the profound changes are coming again as trade markets realign themselves. And again, this is not in the narrative. This is not what people are understanding. And a great example is Warren Buffett, basically doubling down on his bet on Apple Computer, just at the time that their main product is about to see a major wipeout. I mean, you were talking about the smartphone. The Apple phone is now behind. It's behind with the pixels of the camera. It's behind with the processor. It's behind with the software. And the Android systems are gaining, a lot because they're open architecture, a lot because, like I said, they're investing 4 and 5 times the money in R&D of Apple does. And the other truth we know, they're stealing the shit out of everybody's patents. So it's a combination of things that the world is changing again. That was nice. I got some green tea here. I've never seen more disturbing trends than I'm seeing right now in my life. And it's, I'll tell you, want to hear something funny? Every recession looks exactly like this. Every recession catches these people flat-footed. Every recession catches the market moving the wrong direction, okay? Remember, you're stimulating on top of the greatest stimulation ever. You're trying to foster an economy and growth with the Fed raising rates. You got a labor market that is at full participation, and you've got many people leaving the market. You have no incentive to raise pay. Look, let's talk straight. If we really had a job growth as advertised, if we really had a demand for workers as advertised, hell, we're down here slamming jam, but we can't find enough workers. Hell, we hired 25 million more engineers than we can find. Really? Well, how come we're not increasing the pay to attract these people? Well, the answer is that's because we're outsourcing to India. How come you're not building big factories in America? Well, there's no tax incentive to do it. And your tax on the plants that you build outside of America, those profits come back in 100% tax-free. In other words, under this insanity tax break bonanza for billionaires, they'll charge you more on profits you made at the U.S. factory that supposedly they want you to have than they will on the foreign factory. If you outsource jobs out of America, same situation. Think about that. I want you to put that pipe in your pipe and smoke it. So now you got Warren Buffett, which is a great promoter. Let's face facts. The guy's a genius at it. Presenting his incredible empire of basically stocks that do well only in growing economies. And incredibly, if you were asked me to design the worst portfolio for a recession, I couldn't do a better job than Warren Buffett did. I mean, it's amazing. He found a new way to lose money like I've never seen before. And now, wait a minute. Wait. Before you get pissed off, he's already warning about losses because he's got to show you the real value of his holdings, okay? If he can use funny, baloney, non-standard, non-accepted accounting and go, well, see, we bought this share of stock at 105, and now it's at 85, but really, we know it's really worth 120, so we're going to go ahead and plug in 115. Really, that's how to do it. And look at all the profits we're making. Oh, we're not going to pay out dividends because we're going to reinvest it. Another translation, you can't pay it out. Okay, you're not going to pay out what you didn't make in your model. And like I said, the analysis of his sheet constantly shows that basically it's the interest-bearing investments that really make the money. In other words, it's a great big pile of cash that loses money on its stock portfolio and makes money on its investment in interest-bearing instruments. And that's why we can't find nothing to buy. Well, in a stock bear market, in an economy going into recession, I guess not. So this is the new reality. This is the complexion of the world we live in. This is the new growing ugliness. And frankly, it's going to very, very badly. And I thought it was really interesting that, Warren Buffett's losses are not getting the publicity. No one's talking about the fact that he's upset because he has to mark his market in a fair way to portfolio where investors know what he holds. And he's even more upset that he can't find anything to buy, so he went ahead and bought the shit out of Apple stock at the very peak of the cycle. Now, I can tell you that I've never seen anybody make money buying stocks high hoping to go higher. I mean, I do know that you're supposed to buy low and sell high. And he has said many times, by the way, if you catch him in a moment where there is not the cameras and the Warren Buffett T-shirts and his image, I mean, the guy's kind of, gotten to be a little bit more of like a carnival atmosphere there, right? An investment atmosphere. The reality is that you catch him, you say, we can't find any stocks worth the money. We bought Apple because we were desperate to put something on the sheet, seriously. And the problem is that we are into the biggest change in markets. If you want to be kind, you can say, from the close of the 2009 wipeout and the start of the recovery. But if you really want to go back, we're going back into, if you want to model, you're going back to the 1929, 1930s with the economy entering a recession, the Fed raising rates in that recession, and the President of the United States starting trade wars. I mean, does he understand his history? Do they grasp what they're doing? Now, we're not going to bash Donald Trump tonight. He's got problems with Stormy and did he know and didn't know and paid and how it was paid and all this shit and, these stories. You might notice that they've backed away from the trade war over steel. We're modifying it. We're waiting to see what he's going to do with Iran. Any decision he makes is a no-brainer, number one, and of no consequences, although there'll be a lot of market hype around it. Now, the next problem you've got is that they were talking about, by the way, I'll tell you the story. There was alarm bells sounding in Washington about 2 months ago when CBO started reporting, say, look, you guys have passed a huge budget-busting a bill here, okay? This military spending and this money is not coming from taxes. Taxes are plunging. And you put us into this disaster. And a lot of people didn't read the bill, okay? And didn't realize how fast revenue was shrinking. CBO showed that the bill is a disaster, that the money's not coming into the Treasury. Largest Treasury auctions, I pointed out to you before. And so there was a serious talk about, listen, we got to modify this goddamn budget. Okay, we're going to have to get more taxes into it, or we're going to have to cut spending somewhere because it's a disaster. And there was a move to do that, and Donald Trump stepped on his great big foot and stopped the modification, stopped the legislation going forward. Now, you're into election season. You notice a lot of stories on it. You're in May. I mean, people are now starting to duke it out. Candidates are starting to position themselves, starting to go to their backers, okay? You're not going to modify a budget in this environment, okay? And that means that this huge budget disaster that I'm warning you about is about to hit us like a bullet in the brain. And I am gravely concerned about how this works out in the future. This is a really disaster. Now you got the stock market's entered bear market territory. You got one of the biggest investment funds in the world, Buffett, reporting losses and huge losses, okay? And now you've got the political uncertainty with will he or she or them make it or not, and what direction we're going in. You've got the threat of trade wars. You've got businesses that are not willing to invest. They've got everything. I couldn't describe to you a more perfect storm for a depression. I think it's very sad. You couldn't ask for a worse administration. I thought the Republicans were supposed to be the budget conservatives. I thought that when we ended up with Republicans in power, we bounced the budget. We cut entitlements. Remember that entitlements? We make people work for a living. We make America powerful again. And we don't start trade wars. Republicans are supposed to be the deal doers. What happened? Well, basically, you got a dyed-in-the-wool limousine liberal, leopard changes spots, who came to power in quite an extraordinary way, we have to admit. And if you notice, he's still doing the entire Democratic agenda. Tax and spend. Increase the taxes on the middle class. Decrease the taxes on the corporation. Way overspent the budget deficits. Are practicing business unfriendly policy. I mean, if you're a steel mill, you might like that shit. And if you're a coal miner, except in Poland, where the kind of thing fell on you, you like this shit. But the reality is manufacturers can't survive the environment. Investors are not investing in America. Listen to me. The investors have pulled in their horns. Now, you're not going to announce that, hi, I'm an XYZ giant conglomerate, and we are not going to invest in the United States because of uncertainty, because of lack of business, because we can't be competitive. Okay, but that's what's going on. People are locating their facilities outside the United States. There is a bit of a mini boom, by the way, in places like Vietnam, in India. You've got a mini boom even in China. Investors are flocking there, although there's all the blow and go and all of the unhappiness and all the threats of what's going to be these trade sanctions. You got nowhere else to go, see? Ford Motor Company is a great example. Ford Motor Company cannot produce vehicles in the United States of America for the world market. As much as they love you, baby, and as much as they want to, they can't do it. That means that they've got to go to Mexico, they've got to go to India, they've got to go to China. And remember, at one time, they used to produce cars in America for the world market. So whatever you want to hear about this trade wars and all this bullshit and unfair trade practices, let me tell you a very simple situation. You manufacture the damn car in the market where it's going to, and there's no, you're basically on a level playing field with the duties. You basically manufacture in that market where it has the least labor costs, and now you're competitive. They cannot survive this. See, there's no formula. I mean, it breaks my heart because people don't know, but there's no formula that changes the equation for U.S. manufacturers all of a sudden to be able to manufacture in the United States. If they have an equal duty situation, that is not enough to make up for the biggest cost of manufacturing, that's labor. Okay, now despite the fact that they're talking that they're rolling back the bureaucracy, they aren't. Talk to any businessman, the permitting process, the compliance, the cost of land, the cost of factory is the highest ever. You can cut a deal in China, they'll give you the land, they might even build the damn factory for you. The same thing in India, it doesn't make it, you got to build the factory, it costs nothing, your labor costs nothing. So the reality is that we're looking at the trade in a wrong way. Warren Buffett is looking at pricing stocks in the wrong way. We're looking at what we're investing. It's not the manufacturing side of the equation. It's the marketing. Okay? It's getting that product to market. Does it really make any difference where the jobs are? Really, from a business standpoint. I'm not in the job creating market. That's not Ford Motor Company's agenda. That's not what the stock investors are buying into. They're buying into a company that is making a product that they can sell at a profit. The labor or original is a secondary factor, okay? I want to make a car as cheap as I can. I want as much profit as possible, and I want to sell as many of the damn things in the markets around the world. Now, that's the mission statement. Now, the reality is it's counter to the Trump mission statement, and that is jobs, 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 factory in America. In other words, there is nowhere to be competitive. There is no way you can manufacture in America because we're great and America has the greatest workers and all that happy shit. That's nice. That's that goober talk. That's real nice, Forrest Gump. But the reality is that American workers are not the best in the world. They're the same workers. They're not the hardest working employees in the world. They're about average. They're not the highest skilled in the world. They're about average, okay? They're not the highest educated in the world. But they are among the second highest paid. Okay, so you can't make the equation work. What no politician will tell you is that manufacturing is gone from America. When manufacturing comes back, it'll be Robbie the Robot. But they're not telling you is that the U.S. corporations' return on capital, return on equity is plunging. Why? Because they've overinvested. The market is slowing down. We're headed to a recession. No one can tell you, look, Stocks are not a buy. You can make far more money by investing in U.S. government bonds. You can make far more money in passive, guaranteed return investments. That's the reality. The problem is buying bonds does not produce jobs. Okay? But putting factories in China does not increase prosperity of the American worker. These are all the horrible truths that no one wants to tell you. There is no solution here. The only way American workers become profitable and competitive is by moving up the food chain. In other words, when that worker's slapping that goddamn shock absorber on the left side of that Chevy, and I actually knew a guy whose job was that, it's not as productive for the economy and for himself than if he is programming artificial intelligence. It's not as profitable for him or for his boss if he's at the lower end of the food chain. See, we might hire 10 million jobs. Jobs. Oh, jobs. Oh, jobs. Every time I think of jobs, I have an orgasm because it's the president. Okay. Honey, back down. I always am nervous when girls have two first names, by the way. So anyway, Kellyanne, calm down, honey. Take a pill. So anyway, although she's all excited about the jobs, well, reality is that jobs created Interstate Sticks Motel, cleaning toilets, jobs creating at the burger bar flipping hamburgers, jobs created in lawn care, jobs created in changing bedpans at nursing homes are not going to make America great again. Jobs created with Python, jobs created with artificial intelligence, jobs created with all the wonderful vision stuff we're doing. Okay, we're overlaying 4D altered virtual reality goggles. That's jobs. That's creating money. Okay, that's where the future is. And so we want to tell the coal miners, Mr. Coal Miner, you're probably going to die in that mine. If not, you're going to die as a result of being in that mine. And we're not going to have the health care money to take care of you. And Mr. Steelworker, instead of buying that house, so you get he wants to get a house with a pool, you can find a girlfriend. The best thing to do is just save your money. And the reality is that you're pushing people into the wrong industries. And Mr. Mall developer, you ain't going to have no goddamn mall. You're not going to sell products in the mall. I mean, do you really believe that retail shopping space is the way of the future? Horseshit. Have you seen the virtual reality things they're doing? How many times I've gone to a store and bought a piece of furniture and took it home and it wasn't right? How many times have I not been able to see what looks in the pastel colors and doesn't work in my house? Well, now with virtual reality and 3D cameras and the wonderful, cameras on your cell phones, those problems are solved. Which means that the retail experience, when you can see and touch it, can happen through virtual reality. And it can happen on your smartphone. It can happen in your very own house. That's another ding for the retailers. So that's where the future is. The people that understand the new retail environment, understand virtual reality demonstrations, understand better delivery systems, understand shorter chains of supply to the consumer, that's where the future is. The guy running like hell, pissing in the garbage pail because he doesn't want to be seen going to the bathroom for UPS, he's done. He's done. So what's happening is we have a bullshitter chief. And everyone's decided to get on the bandwagon and tell everybody what they want to hear. America is not going to be great again by going back to the industrial age. We're going to have to move forward in the digital age, and then we'll achieve greatness. And as far as those over 50s, you're not going to retread yourself unless you go to work for yourself. You're not going to go ahead and be great again because that corporate asshole is going to say, oh, Wally, you've been here a long time, and your job's been obsolete, so we're going to go ahead and invest millions of dollars training you. There are plenty of people that left the corporate world who are older in age, who understood the Internet, who understand these opportunities, and they've gone to the digital world, okay? There's a wonderful opportunity in the digital world, okay? By the fact that you want to talk about deep state conspiracy? Why in the hell, I'm going to close on this, and I want to leave you with this thought to ponder. Why in the hell If you wanted to make America great again, would you tell your citizens to go in coal mines, car factories, aluminum smelters, and steel makers? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you tell your population to go into the new world of digital communications, the new world of shopping online, the new world of automated delivery systems, the new world of shortened supply chains? Why wouldn't you move your population to that? To me, it sounds like a deep state conspiracy that they want to put people in coal mines and steel mills and automobile assembly plants.